I'm Patrick Watson, I'm an astrologer, and you're watching Big Fat Astro Vlog live. And today I'm going to be talking about the effect of Venus retrograde in October 2018 on all people with Capricorn Rising. So, let's talk a little bit about what we could typically expect from Venus. So Venus is typically bringing people together. It's about all of these things which make a nice, pleasant society possible. Social norms, social boundaries, social bonds, social agreements. Venus acting typically of what we would expect is like two people, being brought together in a loving, committed, exclusive relationship. But Venus retrograde, when Venus appears to be going back through the sky, the rarest retrograde of them all, this is when this notion is kind of askew or goes awry. So Venus retrograde is like, two people in a relationship, and one of them, decides to venture outside of the relationship. There's another person they're being connected with. So it's like, it's still the same idea, connecting two people together, but in kind of unconventional contexts or complicating contexts, violations of social agreements or social boundaries. So typically in the news you see a lot of sex scandals and things like that during Venus retrograde. So that's sort of what Venus means on a kind of broader scale level. But here's what it means for people who are Capricorn rising. So typically, Venus generally represents your capacity for romance, your romantic style, your aesthetic sensibilities, what you cherish, what's sacred to you, what's precious to you. But if Venus also takes on particular roles in your chart. So Venus rules Libra. So Venus represents issues related to your career, reputation, bosses, your public life, your public persona. So that's one thing that Venus is relevant for in your chart. And then at the same time, Venus is also relevant for issues related to the fifth house: fun, recreation, entertainment, creative acts, creative activities, and of course children, pregnancy, as well as like fun sort of kids places where we go to be entertained are typically usually for kids as well. And certain kinds of fun can, get you children, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, it's a house of recreation and fun. So this is kind of a natural fit, really, for Venus ruling this place. So now we have to consider where Venus is actually going retrograde. So starting on October 5th, Venus will go retrograde through Scorpio through Halloween. After Halloween, it enters Libra. So we're going to talk about that. That's in November. So just in October, Venus is moving retrograde through Scorpio. Your 11th house, which is a house of gifts, awards, contacts, networks, and alliances. So something about your professional associations, your professional friendships, there's some sort of social boundary which is improper or is being challenged or something, and it has something to do with, and obviously this will have an impact on your career and reputation, but it also has something to do with fun and recreation and entertainment. So we have to kind of combine these ideas to come up with the various scenarios which you may find yourself in. And of course, it's difficult too because I'm talking about millions of people who have Capricorn rising, right? But what we can say generally is that perhaps improper behavior amongst your peers, or improper behaviors that have to do with fun and recreation, can have an impact on your career and reputation. So this may be a slightly fun and exciting time, but also a time where like some boundaries are being crossed and may be consequential. So that's the kind of that might be the kind of situation that you may find yourself in with Capricorn rising. These are the parts of your chart this is affecting: your 11th house, your 10th house, and your 5th house. So while it's very, very fun, since it's in these sectors of your chart that have to do with kind of, work and sort of your more personal and rather your professional and public life, just be aware of what's going on around you, and be aware of what social connections you'll be making. This may also be a time where you make significant or potentially salacious connections in your professional sphere that can have repercussions on your career. And this could be really good, but I mean, it could also be a little scandalous. Just really kind of depends on, what Venus is like in your natal chart. So if you want some more specific information on what Venus will be doing when it goes retrograde through your chart, you might want to take a look at 8 years prior. 8 years ago, Venus went retrograde in the same part of the zodiac in 2010 and in 2002 and 1994. So if you just look at October to November of those years, 1994, 2002, 2010, you may get some idea of what to expect from this transit, this Venus retrograde transit. Usually there's some sort of overriding theme which kind of repeats in weird ways. So you may have to really do some deep thinking about that. But in any case, I know these transits can be fairly personal, but if you feel comfortable, please feel comfortable sharing your story on the YouTube page. I'd be very interested to read all the juicy gossip. Alrighty. Well, that's about all I have for today. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.